to the Trinity Force podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hey guys, welcome to the Trinity Force podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell. You're listening to episode number 365. It is June 6th of 2016. And we are getting ready to talk about patch 6.11. But before we get into that discussion, first we're going to introduce everybody's on the show for this week. So Punch is here.
Hey, everybody.
Tally is here.
Hey, hey.
Serial.
Hi.
And Chira.
What's up?
It feels weird. I mean, I know we podcasted last week, but it still feels weird to be back in the chair and podcasting again. I don't know if it's because of my weekend or what, but like sitting down and doing this, it's not like I don't know. You guys probably don't feel the same way, but for me, it just feels
you're weird.
It's been fucking raining all day because of the hurricane coming our way. I don't know.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, it's hitting us too.
It's just rain. Flash flood warnings all day, tornado warnings.
I'm sure the puppy loves it, running out in the puddle.
Oh my god. He's so tiny, he's like knee deep and like
You mean like chest deep, right?
Yeah.
All right, so if you guys remember, we had a contest that went on through the month of May, and you had to answer a bunch of questions based on all of the other podcasts had told you to answer. Well, we tallied all those votes up, and we found a final winner for that. Now, a lot of you put in some answers. Actually, some of you would like... I saw one of the first answers that came in actually guessed the wrong person to drink ice. They guessed Tally and not Mitch, and that made me laugh.
That wasn't even a question. It was what's my favorite drink. That doesn't make sense.
Pretty bad.
But drum roll, please. The final winner is David Strauss. Congratulations on winning the blue Nessie microphone. Thank you, everybody else who submitted your answers to the questions. We will be reading anybody who had a question that was like a little more involved than ours. By the way, the answer was Chira Jaden for ours. I think that's pretty obvious, right? Yeah.
I mean, they missed the ice one, so.
Well,
I mean, I thought the Chira one was obvious.
I also straight gave it away. I'm like,
anyway. Yeah, when we had the three of us, our like discussion was, oh yeah, there's a contest. The answer's Chira. Wait, shit, we did it wrong.
Yeah, fucked up.
Well, there is that, guys. Don't forget that that you can check out all the other podcasts. If you checked out the General Gaming podcast, perhaps you would like to pick up a video game that they've been talking about and play it. And you can actually do that if you go to www.gameflyoffer.com/TFN and sign up. By signing up, you get a game for free, and then it goes into the the normal pricing model of $15 or $30 for one or two games. But GameFly is an awesome service you guys can use to follow along with the games that the General Gaming podcast is talking about. Plus, you're supporting the network by signing up with that. So, check that out, www.gameflyoffer.com/TFN if you'd like to do that. Now, we have some patch 6.11 discussion to talk about after the shit show that was last week.
Which one?
Well, actually, for those of you that just listen to this podcast in MP3, we posted the YouTube video of Skarzard up on YouTube, obviously, and posted it to our League of Legends, and the number of people that came in telling us that we're riding Riot's dick and that we're awful people, and I can't believe you're not talking about dynamic queue. Why wouldn't you talk about that? This is the perfect opportunity to trap the Rioters.
How dare we not ask the important questions to somebody who doesn't work on that team?
Yeah. Hey, we were protection. It's okay.
Well, you did post it to r/salt. I mean r/League of Legends. So
on what is arguably the worst day timing wise to do that with how upset people already were.
Yeah, that entire week was just garbage.
I didn't even pay attention. I don't read our league anymore because it's just such a salt mine.
Liar.
I don't.
It's the salt mixed with spoilers posted everywhere. I unsubbed a couple weeks ago.
Wow. Every time I've gone to our league, it is just full. What I don't like about it is it's full of game threads, right? Like if I go there after a weekend, or whatever. Like the top 20 posts are all game recap threads, which is shit I don't care about. And there's like 1 or 2 maybe good threads mixed in the top like 50. Like, hey, here's some stats on this. And I'm like, this is good content. This is what should be on our league, not your game recap threads and bullshit like that.
Not the 50th suggestion to how to solve dynamic queue.
Right.
But probably preaching to the choir or not. You know what? Regardless of your guys' thoughts on dynamic queue, we're not here to tell you how you should think or what it should be done. It's beating a dead horse at this point, and we're not going to talk about it.
Can I talk about it for a second? It's not direct. It's not actually related to dynamic queue, but Aframu's. I liked Aframu's interview that was on the subreddit, and they talked about how he wanted, if like League of Legends, you want it to be a team-oriented game, then go ahead and add voice chat. You have to add voice chat if you want it to be so team-oriented. He said a couple other things that made it flow a little bit better than I did just now, but I liked his interview he just had recently.
I'll have to go back and watch it. I mean, I understand that it is a problem for the really high elo players, but I think Mark Merrill actually made a really good post. If you're interested at all in any of that discussion, you should go find Mark Merrill's post on his Trindamira blog spot, where he talks about how it's here to stay and that they know that there's some issues and they're trying to fix them and this and that. Like, it might suck, I guess, but I don't think a lot of you are affected as much as you think you are. But that's just a personal opinion on this matter.
I just want voice chat.
Man, that is a discussion. That is a discussion we should save for Wednesday, because I think that could get really heated and really fun, and we can all walk away hugging and have friends. God, I hate voice chat. Anyway.
All right, let's plan it. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do Wednesday. We can do Wednesday. We can talk about voice chat and League of Legends and all that kind of stuff. So
I'll get the ice out for that one.
I'll get the margaritas, because we're gonna need to do something with all that extra salt. All right, let's talk about patch 6.11.
All right.
Oh, I see. Even Mitch liked that one so much that he was shaking his head.
I mean, we'll salt the rims of our pop filters.
Take a lick every time. I know, it's perfect. All right, let's talk about patch 6.11, because this patch rundown isn't going to be your normal patch rundown. I want to talk about a lot of the changes that came in, some of the champions, some of the ban rates, some of that kind of stuff that has changed since we've had a weekend to play on this patch. And what we're going to see the difference here. And we'll just start right off the bat with Ekko. Right, because they had a bunch of changes that came in to Ekko, where they increased the cooldown on his Z drive, on the Z drive passive. They increased the ability power ratio, but lowered the damage at Q. They made the stun duration go down in W, and Chrono Bake does less damage but has a higher ratio. So they just tweak some of the base numbers to try to make it so he has a little bit less damage if he's not building ability power, which I've gone and played Tank Ekko top lane now, and it's not so much Tank Ekko anymore as it's like hybrid Tank Ekko now. And he's still a force. Like, he's still powerful to play out of the top lane. He's still, I almost think he's still ban-worthy in a lot of situations.
So it sounded like, when we talked about this with Skarza last week, he mentioned that what they wanted to try this time was taking away some of his utility so that you couldn't just make him a pure tank and then be super effective. So is that how you felt now playing him, that you actually needed to build damage in order to contribute to the team?
You have to build a little bit now. Like, when I say it's like a hybrid thing, it's kind of like a Diana, where it's where you could still rush into a Spirit Visage or a like you can get a Balmy Cinder and go into, you know, I can't Sunfire Cape thing. You could still buy Sunfire Cape. You could still kind of rush one of those if you wanted, but what a lot of people are actually doing is they are quickly pushing the first couple waves with Q, because Q's base damage is relatively high. They're going back and they're buying a Dark Seal and or a Doran's Ring, and then they're building into Lichbane, Abyssal Scepter, not necessarily in this order, but Lichbane, Abyssal Scepter, some tank item, and then kind of rounding out their build with whatever they need after that. So they are building a little bit more damage heavy, but it's kind of why I say it's hybrid, because you get that Abyssal Scepter, which gives you some tank stats and cooldown reduction, but you're still doing damage, so your base, you know, through the ability power that it gives you.
You're always going Abyssal Scepter first?
No, that's why I said after those first two items.
Then?
It's one of the two. No,
okay.
It just depends, obviously, on the matchup, what you need, how you're doing it. Like I said, you can obviously go Dark Seal into a Doran's Ring, into a tank item, if you need to, because you're getting that extra ability power through your Dark Seal, because you should be, as playing tank Ekko or playing Ekko, getting lots of assists using your teleports, roaming around the map, and you actually have some decent base damage to get a couple. You can get a solo kill in lane with that build, but I see a lot more Lichbanes, Abyssal Scepters, and some tank stats on top of that, rather than just like full on hard carry AP Ekko. What's that look for, Mitch?
I was just thinking about like the fact that you can build pretty much anything. So if you wanted to go Sheen to be able to trade better, if you wanted to go Spectre's Cowl to keep the survivability, if something's gonna be trade against you, Bombies if you want to push, like the fact that you can build anything and as long as you're playing it smart, still seems really strong. But I do like that they're making you have to itemize better. I shouldn't say better, but smarter, and making it so you can't just do, hey, I'm gonna click a random item and it'll probably do well for me.
It's just it's more thoughtful. Like you have to put more into it before you just say, hey, I'm gonna buy these because if I can do it and it doesn't matter, I'm still gonna be strong as hell.
There's more trade-offs. Yeah.
I played him yesterday and I actually fed early. I went down 2 kills early in lane, so played against the Nautilus because Ekko is a little squishier and Nautilus a little tankier than I expected, because I hadn't honestly played the matchup in forever, so I'd forgotten. And there was a point where I finally was able to come back in, get an assist here, make up some of my gold back, and I felt like once I got my Abyssal Scepter, I hit a nice spike where I was actually able to do damage, and I went from being like 0, 3, and 1 to being 4, 3, and 1 or 2, like going into mid game with a nice teleport because of that Abyssal Scepter, because of that extra damage and cooldown reduction that it gave me. But it's still very much about landing those parallel convergences to either zone or get a stun on the team, because 1.57 seconds is nothing to blink an eye at. It's still a super long stun if you can land it.
Did you have that Abyssal and you were saying you got back like into the game when you were still laning with Abyssal versus the target, or when you were like already out of laning phase?
It was like a hybrid laning out of laning. Just how the game goes, where sometimes you lane and there's lots of roaming and lots of skirmishes in river or mid lane.
Yeah, because I could see the Abyssal doing incredibly well against a magic damage heavy person, like, I shouldn't say heavy, but magic damage dealing champion like Nautilus. And every stat on that Abyssal Scepter is fantastic against him, because you get the cooldown reduction, you get the plus and minus MR, and then AP. Like, that's really, really good in that matchup if you're staying in lane that long.
Yeah, it wasn't so much a lane, but I like the item overall, because it was a Fiddlesticks Nautilus that they had on the enemy team, so that extra magic resist helped quite a bit. But and once you get that Sheen, or that, especially get that Lichbane, like if you get that 2-item spike at any point in time, you're doing. I mean, his base damage is still fairly high, and now that you have some additional scaling on your ability power, you don't really notice the damage hit. You just have to be a little less tanky, and I think that just goes to being able to play the champion better. That's why he's still so powerful, right? Because if you play the champion correctly, you're getting those shields, or you're knowing, you hit 3 hits on your passive, you run really fast, you're in and out, and you're able to trade. I think if they really want to kill him from the top lane, they're going to have to do a little more work. But I think now this comes into itemization rather than it does removing damage from Ekko, because there's going to be a point where it completely just wipes him out.
Well, do you think that? So it certainly sounds like he's still playable on top lane, but do you think that he is still a pick or ban, considering several other top laners that got a lot more love this patch?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
really, pick or ban? Top 3?
Yeah,
laners?
The LCS was pick or ban with him, and they're playing on patch 611.
That was 610.
I don't think
were they
that's
playing
right.
on 610? I
Yeah.
thought they were on 611. Okay. Maybe not so much for competitive play anymore, but I still think, like, if you're good with Ekko, you should pick ban him anyway. Like, I don't really feel Swain is must pick or ban anymore. I think he is super powerful, and he's just like old Swain in the fact that he can become an immovable object. You just have to play around that properly. He's very much reminds me, the new Swain, if we want to jump to that, reminds me very much of like Nasus, in that you have to play around how the champion works.
I don't know. The new Swain's pretty good. He has a lot.
He still is really good.
He's really good. He the ability to create zones of control that you can just stand in, and it punishes other people for standing next to you, and then you're healing for more off of frontliners than you were in the past is really, really nice.
Yeah, so it's just Swain when they did this patch. They actually they just removed some of his damage on his Q.
And they needed to. They really needed to.
And the base heal against champions on his R got reduced as well, pretty significantly. That's why I said I don't think he's as pick or ban as he previously was. But
I'm really sad. I had like a big point on this when we were about to cover it last week, and then 5 days later, I've completely forgotten what it was, which really sucks. But I mean, they changed how easy it was to heal off of it, and I really like that they're pulling that back a lot, because pre-mitigation versus post-mitigation healing is pretty ridiculous when you think about how much easier it is to get pre-mitigation healing off of tanks. Because it just doesn't matter. You get the same healing off of anybody. Doesn't matter who.
It needed it as well. I was playing a couple ranked games with Whale the other day, and we ran into one game where like the Swain top ended up going 2-0 early, and 3 people ganked him. Like the mid laner, the jungler, and I was playing top, roll up into him, and he like killed one person and was healing off of the other 2 and almost killed the other 2 by himself just because of how much he was getting healed. And they couldn't burst him down to make like offset they couldn't do the damage to offset the amount that he was healing, and that was at like level 9.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the other thing that I was thinking of is that so the change to his E, which of course people now realize is not a first max, but it is that 1-point wonder. I was thinking it might help a bunch, and I didn't get to play him much since this change, but I feel like early levels against like a melee top, the ability to throw down an E at level 1, and then your opponent takes for 4 seconds 20% increased damage from your auto attacks.
That's how it's always been.
Pretty significant, but it used to be 7. It used to be very negligible early on until you got a couple levels in it. Now you're talking about, you can just play around that being up and say, all right, well, I guess I'm going to go trade now. And go just murder somebody pretty hard for like 20% on autos when that's a main source of damage in early trades is pretty crazy when you get 4 seconds of it. That's like if the other person's not paying attention, that's 2 if they start running away, but closer to 3 or 4 autos if you're doing it right.
And that's really, really good. But we'll have to play with this a little bit before I can throw a verdict down on that. You can just throw, like, if they go into last hit 2, you can throw Q and walk away, and as long as they're standing in it, it's going to shoot at them as well, and the enemy minions won't auto aggro you. Whereas, like, if you E them and auto them, they will. But we're talking about, like, a pure level 1 trade early.
Yeah, either or. I mean, both Q and E are very easy to trade with because you're just placing down, and it focuses on champions.
But to go back to those autos, I mean, you're also getting free autos off if they have to move out of your queue. So you put the Q down, they can't trade back. They have to get out of that or take their increased damage from that.
That's true as well.
While taking increased damage from your autos, where you're like, hey, get out of there, get out of there.
So I haven't played a lot of new Swain, but I do remember that was something you would always do in old Swain. I played a lot of old Swain, and you would always use, whenever you threw your E down, you try to weave in some auto attacks in between, especially early. And that's why he was so good back when he was good a couple seasons ago. Or he was at least a good counter pick against melees, because you can just E them and throw in autos while they have to run away or they get out traded.
Well, the nice thing right now, too, is if you throw an E on somebody and they, for some reason, decide that they want to roll in and trade against you, you can drop Q on yourself. And if they do decide to fight you, they're going to be taking way more damage than they thought they would. So it forces them to back off anyway, so you do get those free autos in. It's just costs a lot of mana early.
Swain is very much... I think Swain is very akin to Illaoi, as another champion we'll talk about tonight, and the fact that, like, when Swain uses his abilities, as long as he doesn't use them when you trade. Like, if you initiate the trade and Swain drops his abilities, you're fucked, right? Or you're taking generally significantly more damage than what Swain is. But, like, if Swain is using the Q to zone, you need to go through the Q and trade with the Swain with all your abilities up. And that's a whole part of trading and understanding how to do the lane, because if you're letting Swain free harass you and you're not up in his face, you could potentially lose the lane.
You can't just wade through the queue to get to him, though, because like it automatically redirects to you. So like, say he's going, like, the enemy player, unless it's like Trinity who can dash out of it, or Renekton who again can just dash out of it, or somebody who can just immediately get through it. If it's not somebody who can do that, if the Swain's opponent goes to like last hit cannon minion, for example, you can just drop that Q and sit on the back edge of where that Q is, and if they wade all the way through to you, they're slowed the entire time they're within your queue. It automatically redirects to them. So
and that's fine, but most people actually have a dash or some kind of like displacement or some way to make it through the queue to be able to trade. Like the only thing that's going to stop you at this point, not the damage of standing on the edge, is the number of minions that the enemy that the Swain has. Like you're obviously going to take a ton of damage if you trade into a Swain that has a full minion wave or 3 or 4 minions and you don't have any. But I'm just saying, like that, you can't just let yourself take free harass and do nothing about it.
So I think that these changes. So they dropped his Q damage at higher ranks and the healing off his ult, which are clearly more targeted towards mid late game, not really towards laning. And I think I think what they're trying to do with Swain is saying, hey, he's going to be a strong laner early. He's going to be difficult to deal with, but later on maybe not so much, which is kind of actually reinforced by stats. His win rate kind of is very high early, spikes even higher at mid game, but plummets as soon as he gets to about 30 minutes. And I think that's with these 6-11 changes in play. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be really. I think that's what they're aiming for now. They said, "Oh shit, we made it real strong. Let's take something away from the later game, make him more early game focused." And I don't know. I guess I haven't seen like lane bullies are interesting to see come into play occasionally.
That was kind of always the sense of this kit that I got, at least, because he's going to get outscaled as far as he might be hard to take down in the mid game, but like a late game 80 carry with 6 items is always going to still be able to shred him, especially with the grievous wounds if someone has ignite and whatnot. But like he can't do that same late game burst, blow one person up late game and then roll that into a win like other mid lane mages can.
Right. It's all the sustained damage. He almost goes like Karthus-esque in that regard.
What I like right now is, so they've we'll move off of Swain for a moment and talk about Azir. We do need to talk about Trinity Force before the night is up as well, and that's they changed Azir so that W no longer works on turrets. So if you're wondering why you were dropping your W and it made a Sand Soldier, but even through that and changing Emperor's Divide so that the ultimate only lasts 3 seconds at all ranks, that I still think you should be banning Azir right now. And if you're like Azir is like the end all be all mid lane, because of just all the utility and damage he brings. A really good Azir is. Should put a caveat on that. But banning Azir, what I like about this right now, if you ban Azir, you open up mid lane quite a bit to a lot of champions right now. And I think mid lane's actually in a really good state, as long as you get rid of one champion.
I think this was about pro play. I don't think this is about solo queue.
No, even in solo queue though, like you can ban Azir and then you can play
he's
anything.
Second worst. He's third worst in win rate.
You're right. That's why I said like you have to. I
don't see him a lot.
Azir.
Yeah. But I think it was more towards pro play where he was still like I think one of the top 5 or 6 champions picked like at MSI coming into this week. I haven't seen full stats, but like was picked a lot. Like they said, all right, let's gut him a little bit. And they just took away they took away free stuff. Like you just throw out charges that destroy turrets. That doesn't make a lot of sense as a mid laner, but it was nice for him. Yeah, but he's already got enough utility on random things that's fine to get rid of. I think
they took away like hidden strength, but they didn't take away like the core. What he does well. They just took away like what he does. They didn't take away what it does well. They took away what he got for free. Kind of like Mitch was saying. Like, I understand why they originally had, what is it called, sandcastles in there, the W, when you throw it on the turret, because he can't really auto turrets well, But
it provides so much siege. I think that was their original intention. It was like, yeah, he's supposed to be a sieger, but he can't really damage the turrets. But he provides so much for his team that he doesn't need it. Yeah.
He's a brick wall. Like he literally is a brick wall if things start going the other way.
Well, he has a brick wall made of soldiers.
Yeah.
So a soldier wall.
But
now the soldier wall does not give movement speed to your allies, which never really made sense. So
I forgot that was part of the whole
thing. Yeah,
it's like you walk through a Jace gate, except that your opponents can't walk through it, and it pushes them away.
Except for the Jace gate isn't like a hypo accelerator. It's you're walking through a crowded mall, and you somehow get faster.
They're pushing you through. Here, you go ahead.
They're shoving you.
I do love the decreased duration though. So that those sand soldiers aren't standing there forever.
Oh my god! And people just repeatedly get bumped into it.
Yep. Is it down yet? Nope. Still can't go through. So yeah.
Okay. So there's Azir. Oops, I actually clicked on Azir and I'm off the patch notes. That's
Trinity
a bit
Force
of Azir.
is a good segue into a bunch of the last few, I think.
Or Illaoi.
I was going to talk about Illaoi.
I know you do.
Because I really do think... I want to talk
Phil
about
wants to
Illaoi, and I
talk
want to talk
about
about Lucian, too.
Yeah, let's bring Crazy Phil on for the Illaoi
Tell us what you
select
think,
episode
Phil.
in a few I don't know, months or a month or two when he hits Diamond.
All I have to say about these Illaoi changes is that they're fantastic, and they've actually made Illaoi a pretty big force to be reckoned with. Like before Crazy Phil had posted about it, I looked at these changes. I went, man, this makes Illaoi nuts.
Shit, Adam, before these changes, you were running up and giving Illaois in my lane double buffs without batting an eyelash, so this just makes it way worse for me.
Yeah, you're welcome, buddy. They changed Q tentacle stash, so it does now increases all damage to the tentacles by 10 to 30% rather than a flat amount, or rather
a flat amount of base, like of bonus attack damage. Now it's just a flat, giant
all
percent
tentacles.
damage increase. Yeah.
Harsh Lesson obviously has some extra damage to it, and then the slow duration has gone down, but it no longer decays, so it's a flat 1.5 seconds. Anyway, the changes to this, if you run Storm Raider Surge on Illaoi, you can wreck fools as long as you're landing your E's in lane and you're trading effectively. But like Skarzard mentioned last week, Illaoi being a really hard champion to play. I'm not telling you to run out there and go and play her, because she is. Like, you have to run to lane and drop your tentacles, let your passive drop the tentacles out in certain areas for you. You have to set up the lane. Like, you can't really go help your teammates invade. You can, but it's like not as advantageous for you if you don't. And there's little pieces like that to playing her, that those little niche that you need to understand, and it allows you to dominate the lane through using your W properly. So I do really like these Illaoi changes, and I really want to see more people playing her. I just think that I agree with Skarzard. She's just really hard to play.
Yeah, I think you guys talked about that last episode with Charizard too, and there's like a lot of nuance to her. I don't really play her, but I can understand from a perspective of she kind of being a little bit hard to get the hang of.
Well, if you screw something up,
there's
you're
nuance,
waiting on cooldowns to death, and you're not having a good time.
They also gave we said this on that episode, but a lot of power was given to the 1 point of W that you're going to be sitting on or should be sitting on, and that's, I think, really big, because I'd already had decreased the cooldown, I think, the previous patch, and now it deals percentage of target's max health, which is also sweet, which also scales off of AD. So that just makes it like unbelievably stronger, I think, especially when you're trading in top against tankier members. I like these changes and don't like them because I currently don't play Illaoi, and if I run into one, I'm not going to be happy to.
By the way, Black Cleaver, Iceborne Gauntlet, Spirit Visage, Sterix, or Death Stance. That's like pretty much your core item build on her. You can drop a Randuin's rather than Spirit in there if you don't need the extra healing. But
Against Yasuo.
yeah, Black Cleaver, though, like, you can have your tentacles, you can smash all 5 tentacles down and stack Black Cleaver right up immediately. Boom, done. And then just do tons of damage through Harsh Lesson's 2-second cooldown. It's stupid.
Yep.
Okay, then we can talk about... I want to talk about Lucian a little bit. We'll roll on the Trinity Force and then go back to Jax, because Jax benefits from Trinity Force. All I want to say about Lucian is if you're not banning Lucian, even after these changes, you should be out there banning Lucian. Every single game, someone needs to ban Lucian. He has a... I should have actually had the stats right in front of me right here.
He's the most picked, winningest champion.
Yeah,
that's his role.
Yeah, it's essentially he's got a 52% win rate and a 50% pick rate. I can actually pull the stats up here really quick.
Not anymore.
I think it fell.
No, I looked at it today.
It fell a little
He has
bit.
a 52.86% win rate and a 50.61% play rate. I looked up there.
Dude, that's from 510. Those are the exact stats from 510.
Since today, they've updated it.
Unless it changed since I looked at it this afternoon.
Dude, Pwn, those are the exact numbers for 610.
Did they change since I looked at it?
52.86. Yes. Yeah, those are the exact numbers for 610. It's dropped to 49. Like, he got hit hard by these changes.
They did. 49.5. They updated. I looked at it at like 2 o'clock. What time did I look at it then? 6 hours ago. So it wasn't that long ago. It was about 2 o'clock.
Yeah, so the key changes, passive doesn't do... The second shot doesn't act as a basic attack, so it doesn't proc a bunch of stuff. Piercing light range went down. Like, they keep nerfing his range. Ardent Blaze's range went down. Like, earlier in the year, they nerfed the range of Culling by another, like, 200. So he is supposed to still be that short-range AD carry, which, if you guys remember, when he came out, he still had like an extra 100 range, and then that got taken away, and then he was still good because they did some shenanigans with his E.
They ramped his mobility up like
They made him be able to
give a
move like
reset
all
on it,
around everybody.
Yeah.
They made him into Genji from
my
Overwatch, even
God.
though it's the other way around.
Even with those changes, I still think he's worthy of a ban out of anybody else, just because how he is a bigger lane bully than Ezreal, who has a very comparable win and play rate. He's a bigger lane bully, and he has a better mid game than Ezreal does through Black Cleaver.
Maybe.
And honestly, the difference in the difference in win rate could also be people just seeing, hey, Lucian changes were made, they nerfed him, he's probably not good anymore, so let's not play him.
Well, I mean, I agree with the laning bully aspect of Lucian, whereas that should probably determine whether or not you ban him. I was fully supporting banning him before this patch, but all these changes kind of, well, okay, not all of these changes. The W range decreased, who cares? The Q range decrease is pretty big in laning phase because that's his main source of harass. So the cast range is still the same, but the range that extends is shorter. So he has a harder time hitting the enemy ADC who's farming from the back line. So he's got to work harder to harass. If that's enough to make him so that his laning phase is substantially weaker, then I don't think he should be banned anymore.
I don't think it's enough.
That's going to take some testing. It's going to take some time to see.
I think there's a bigger issue here with Lucian than nerfing his damage. I really do think there's an itemization issue that goes on with AD carries.
That's
It
another
just
part of it, yeah.
synergizes too well.
Yeah, he's the only AD carry that synergizes so
Cleaver.
well into mid and early into mid game because of his items. Because I think there's a bigger problem, and Skarzard would probably shoot me down as his, but I think there's a bigger problem where there's too many people that get free damage of being tanks, and then Lucian is a byproduct of that because he could build Shred early and still do the amount of damage the other AD carries could do if they didn't have to fight into those heavy armored tanks that early into the game.
That being said, nothing hurts more than range nerfs. Nothing in this game, I would say, hurts more than range nerfs. And
But it's not even
Safety's
like
gone.
it's not even like I mean, it's just a range nerf on how far his Q can travel, and
that's his
I
basic
think you really
poke
had to
and
be a
lane.
pretty good Lucian to do that. The difference here was that like his play rate was at 50% and his win rate was at 52%. I guarantee you that 45% of those players that was playing that didn't have any fucking clue how to use his Q properly. They were just playing him because he was good and he'd have the double auto attack.
I mean, he's gonna lose. Like
Well, it
he's
seems like he already
losing.
lost
He's losing
all of it.
ease. He's losing damage on the skill you max first. Like I guess at level 1 and 2, you're not losing very much. I know it's based on bonus AD is the ratio, but that's a lot of his damage late too.
Yeah.
You're not losing
Like
anything.
20
I mean, you're losing
What?
0.0. You're losing 0.05 and 0.1. 0.05 at level 2.
I know. I'm saying like later on, like when
Late game,
you're
you're
losing
losing 0.2.
0.2, like
Yeah.
20% of that, like late game on all of your Qs, and then it's difficult to hit like in a team fight where you're hoping that targeting the tank will hit people in the back line too.
Yeah, and he
I
doesn't.
think
Again,
necessarily doing
the
most
players that
damage
were
late
playing
game.
him when he's at a 50% when he was at a 50% play rate, a 52% win rate, is indicative that people did not use that ability that way. They were not setting
are
up
in
their
plat.
Qs.
If we're talking about plat win rates, they are definitely.
Sure.
I've not
They
seen a
definitely
Lucian a plat main not know how to use Q. That's ridiculous. That's what they were all doing. I mean, that kind of player, you're talking about lower levels of players
Yeah,
who are
that's
just
fair.
who are just taking advantage of Lucian's base stats.
Does Champion
And in
GG
that
only show
scenario-
plat and higher? Is that exactly what it is?
Yeah, it is plat or higher ranked
Okay.
games only.
Yeah.
It's not even normals. Yep.
But still. I am still 100% fully on the ban Lucian train. Just get him out of your game and deal with the other AD carries, because I don't feel like Ezreal does near as much as Lucian does almost ever.
I will agree he's still worth picking, but I need to see more before whether or not I take him off my ban list.
You're going to run into that
Or-
one Lucian with that Braum or Leona or whatever it is. It's just going to absolutely dominate you.
But
and
the
go
thing is-
right back.
But the thing is, I'm top lane, and I'm building Trinity Force on
I
my
don't have to
Aurelia
deal with
1
it anymore.
So I can just jump on Lucian and kill him. I don't care.
I'm Jin in the bottom lane because that's my one trick pony right now. I can't play against Lucian. He just wrecks my day. All right, let's talk about Trinity Force. So,
Oh boy.
big change to Trinity Force. It now builds out of Stinger.
It's
Right.
better. It's better now.
Is that it?
Stinger's
Yeah.
long.
Item's better now.
Stinger is not a part of the Trinity Force. Since the dawn of time, it's been Zeal.
You know
Oh,
what?
that's true.
I will say, as a player that's played this game for a very long time, that does make me really fucking sad. But at the same time, the new Trinity Force is better. So
Yeah.
There are people that need to
fuck
go.
up.
There are people that need to go change their tattoos. That's how long this has been the same 3 items.
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't changed the emblem yet, guys. And to be fair, if you look at the patch notes, Stinger's right below it. It does look like one of the swords already.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
So Adam,
you
don't have to
tattoo havers
rebrand
might be
anytime
okay.
soon.
I'm fine. My tattoo doesn't have that. My tattoo is just the headphones.
Oh Jesus.
Just add Stinger to it.
Just go a little
Yeah,
lower.
you should
Wait,
add
you haven't seen that yet?
The
The
we're gonna
Trinity-
get
Go a
banned
little lower.
from Twitch.
Wait,
You can't-
wait,
you're getting banned
Twitch.
from Twitch.
There. Gotta go a little lower. Yeah, I got the Trinity, our podcast logo on my chest. There you go. I'll go into the video afterwards and edit that nipple out just for
blurry
Twitch.
the nipple. No one saw Adam's nipple. I promise.
Don't ban me, Twitch. I was just showing
So-
my tattoo.
So the TLDR for Trinity Force is an actual significant amount of attack speed now, 40%.
Yep.
Which used to be 15% and nobody cared. And 10% more CDR than no critical strike chance. Which, on the surface, is like, no critical strike chance. This is outrageous. Why would I buy this item? And then you think about all the champions that actually buy Trinity Force, and they don't really want it. They'd much rather have
need
the
it.
attack speed.
especially bruisers and
Unless
top
you're
lane that buy
Gangplank.
this.
Sure, Gangplank. He is sad,
Gangplank's
I
always
guess.
out of the Gangplank's always out of the norm for like bruiser builds, but
There's
But yeah,
actually
Jax and Aurelia.
there's actually a new Gangplank build rolling around. Have you guys seen that? Like you go back and buy it. I'm trying to remember exactly how it starts, and I'm going to butcher this, but I know you have a Doran's ring. You buy a Stinger. You either buy I think you buy a Stinger early because the cooldown reduction goes a long way to help you farm, and
I
then
bet.
you also run 12-18 with the extra cooldown reduction, so you have 45%. So by about I think what is it, 15 minutes into the game, roughly maybe 17, you have a 70-second cooldown on your ultimate.
Is
Seven.
this
Wait,
going to
max
be
CDR?
the new version of your bank plank, except you actually have to actively shoot things as quickly as possible to make your money rather than
No, probably not.
just
but
sit and wait?
I can't remember the exact build on top of my head. I just saw it earlier today and I kind of just glanced by it. But there's something like that where you rush into a Stinger for the cooldown reduction and then you finish your Trinity Force and get some other cooldown reduction items. Essentially, you have an ultimate that's off a cooldown just about all the time because of the Stinger change. So that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I like the change because it, like, crit and casters, like 80
Never
casters, they kind of, I don't say they conflict because they're obviously positive stats no matter what, but they don't synergize as well as they could. And that's
Because
kind
crit
of the
usually
changes.
want more crit along with that. You don't want just the crit from the Trinity Force. It's usually not enough or like. not
Yeah, and
ideal.
this getting more CDR and more attack speed works with that. Works with the Sheen procs that you're wanting to do, not the video series, of course. And the one thing that I thought of initially, which is just because I was feeling my Corky from the beginning of the season, who is now just in the dumpster. But he was originally building. You could build Essence Reaver and Trinity Force, and they would synergize really well in terms of the crit strike turning into cooldown reduction. But now you have that extra 10% on Trinity Force, which is nice. Obviously, now that synergy doesn't work because crit chance is gone. And I don't think any champion in the game is currently building Essence Reaver, so that doesn't even really matter.
Jin is building
So-
Essence Reaver.
Is he the one?
Yeah.
I think he might be the only one that's
I
building
think
it now.
Sivir might still be building it too.
Okay. But it used to be like when it first came out, you had a bunch of, oh yeah, he is. Okay. You are correct. But I just want Corky to be good again, and he's so
They can win
bad.
games.
I'm glad
He's-
you brought him up because I think he might have been the one exception to the lack of crit. But I still think he'll be all right. He's got the same amount of CDR with just the Trinity Force than he had with the double Trinity Force and Essence Reaver. And I think people are already building Trinity Force into an Infinity Edge before this patch. And now I think that's just going to become the go-to 2 items for Corky. I don't think.
But it's worse now. I think that's worse overall because you lost crit chance going into Infinity Edge.
But you get more attack speed
Yeah, but
and the same amount of CDR as before. And you actually have the same amount of crit with those 2 items.
I think Corki's in the complete and total dumpster right now and isn't even worth your time to
Yes,
look at or pick.
like,
so they've nerfed him
he's
too many times in a
the worst
row.
winning rate, yes. This isn't going to bring him back, but I don't think this hurts him.
Sean,
What's up?
your boy is back. Your Skarner.
Oh yeah, he's doing great.
Jungle Skarner's doing fantastic
He's doing
right
great.
now.
He's been really good for a long time. He's been a sleeper, and I mean, it's just, again, it comes down to a consistent champion and the game changing around a champion, and the champion just kind of popping out of the woodwork. But it's been a long time since like Skarner was really in the shithouse per se, as in comparison to how bad he's been in the past. But like right now, he's in a good spot. I'm very happy.
Hey, you just get your buddies, everybody to go and like. The time I played with a Skarner on my team, he's like, we need to run in the enemy jungle, and we're getting my point. And then we ran and got all the other 3 points, and then he just ran around like all the points. It was just counter jungling and wrecking face, and yeah, it was fun.
Doing damage, and again, talking about Trinity Force, it's better on him now than the other one was, because fuck crit when you have more attack speed on him.
Do you want to talk about Jax as well?
Yeah, that Trinity Force change helps him.
I think everyone sees that coming.
Well, there's more than that. His passive now falls off one at a time rather than all at once.
Yeah, that's nice.
Phil was saying something about that. It falls off really quick. It's like 0.5 seconds for a stack to fall off.
But
Or
even still, like that's the difference between like 2 stacks falling off because it took you that much longer to get to somebody, and all of the stacks falling off before and having to rebuild them.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, regardless if it falls off still very quickly, the fact that they don't all fall off at once is still a good. For him, it's a quality of life thing.
I think Jax is long for this world the correct sentence to use when you have the Swains and the Vlads and the Ekkos and whatnot dominating the top lane right now, and those are interchangeable in the mid. He just doesn't have the pushing power against these other champions.
Well, he's really squishy early right now too, is another issue, and I don't think when you have champions like that running up there who are strong early, and you requiring like you need a lot of money on him, and you also need to hit 6 really quickly, so you're more effective. Not fun to play him when you're playing against strong laners, and you can't just hyper scale and have an easy farm lane.
It does look like it helped him out substantially, though. It went up 17 spots, but some of that might also be due to itemization.
I think he's still below 50%, though.
He is, but 17 slots.
But yeah, I mean, it certainly helps.
Not that it's needs
But
that.
he, for the most part, like even when he was doing really well, he was sitting right around the 50% mark. So
He's at 48.8.
I think what he really needs, because I just looked him up on LoLWiki, is he needs his icons updated because they look like they were drawn by a 5th
I
grader.
agree. Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, talking about
that's the biggest buff you could give.
talking about skill curves or win rate by games played that we were talking about last Wednesday, Jax is, according to Champion.gg, one of those. I mean, his win rate definitely increases as you play more.
Substantially.
But
That's not surprising.
you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt on this site, because if you look at Singed, Riot's internal data does not agree with Champion GG in that regard. Like Singed approaches 50% or 51%. So I really want to know. I really want access to Riot's data is really what I'm getting at here. I just want the data, man.
Just beg really hard.
Can we talk about data when it comes to support Zyra? Because that shit is fucking bonkers and stupid. And anytime anyone picks to support Zyra, it fucking puts me on tilt because it's so goddamn good.
All right, I started playing that shit right after the mage rework, and I got bitched at for it.
It's you just
You're ahead of
build.
your time.
No.
Savant.
I loved it, man.
If you want to play
That's what I
support
used to play
Zyra
back
right
in the
now
day.
and you want freelo, go grab Zyra because all you do is have you have a full magic penetration page. I'm talking
Honestly,
nearly
that
100%, and you rush
APs.
Leandries or Abyssal.
I wouldn't even phrase it that way. If you're a good mid laner and you want freelo right now, play support and carry the game out of the bot lane.
Yeah, support Zyra. It's just
How much
so
What's that
magic
karma,
is
though?
that? Holy
30.
shit. What?
If you picked up a full page, it'd be 30 if I remember correctly, 25 or 30.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Karma's
that's a
really
good
good too.
Yeah, Karma's coming back. Jungle
With
Karma
vengeance.
boys.
No,
Double
please.
karma.
Speaking of junglers, we had some small Nidalee nerfs. I wouldn't say that these are super substantial. They lowered. We're again kind of talking about hidden power. That's kind of what they did by kind of removing some of the move speed where you necessarily didn't even know it was kind of active. Because I guess the prowl one part of the prowl passive, the moving speed while running towards enemy champions, you just getting procced when you're halfway across the map. So
yeah,
they lowered that. I didn't even honestly know the range of that.
That's only gonna work for traps, right? I mean, if you're hit somebody with a Q, you're automatically be in range. So this seems to only affect somebody wandering through
free
a trap
move speed
when you're nearby somewhere, and you're like, hey, I can go gank this guy now.
Yeah. So and then the pounce was, I mean, that only really counts when you're killing things, and it helps a little bit, but. I don't know. This is literally, if you still get ahead, you're still gonna be able to stomp off people. This isn't really gonna hurt her. They're just getting rid of some of the hidden power. You might not catch up to someone once or twice because of this, or you might like be a second later to lane for a gank. But
I like champion GG, but I don't because if I show all,
because it doesn't agree with you.
No, because it shows Cassiopeia top at a 56.15%
yeah.
rate.
What the hell's up with
but
that?
A 0.28% play rate. Meaning, like, one person spammed it this entire weekend.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing is we can see that and we can take note of it.
That's the lie.
That it's not that important. Not a big deal.
Yeah, but she shows up on the main page. I think is the problem.
Yeah.
Under win rate, it's like, hey, look at this highest win rate.
But to be
and that would be if we didn't look at it. If the opponent just said it's the highest win rate, let's discuss, and instead clicked and said, oh, it's a 0.3% play rate. It doesn't matter.
But yeah, that's why
go to the site and just see. Oh, look at that, 56%.
Yeah,
right around.
But that's why they also have like a different column called position roll, which goes to overall performance ranking, and not just win rate, which is based off of stats that can kind of skew stuff. I mean, should they just not put her in there? Possibly. Like if it's under like a percentage play rate, maybe you don't put them in there. But at the same time, you can sort by position roll and you can
win
see
rates asterisk for a significant number of games played.
I really do.
But I mean,
like
if it's
under percent, or there should be a base number of games that need to be played or something.
Maybe they do an asterisk if it's under a percentage, or maybe I would say maybe a couple percentage, but I mean it's right next to it. You can see
because there's the number of games played is a total of like 120 games played. With
my point is that if you're gonna look at that, and I know you're saying some people might do that, and you want an asterisk. It's like somebody going into the patch notes and seeing, oh, these are the champions they changed, and not looking at what they did to any of them. Like you
think
not
people don't do that?
No, and I know people don't even look at patch notes and say, "Oh, that changed in game." Yeah, I understand.
That was evident when they documented a Vlad nerf, but they actually forgot to push it through, and his win rate went down like a couple percentage, like 3 or 4%.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of champions, Talia's win rate is actually increased, and I don't know if that's so much of a product of. I think it's more of a product of just people playing the champion rather than the changes they made in the hot fix of 610 with her damage.
Just giving her time.
Yeah, because she went from like 38% to nearly 50% over a patch, and that really has got to be product of time rather than a product of changes, because they haven't really touched her besides the hot fix, right? Or they did a small something in this patch. Where's she at?
Something small.
Yeah, this Threaded Volley now deals 50% extra damage to minions, so her Q does extra damage, so she can push a little bit easier, which is quite helpful when you're in lane. Especially if it's only hit if you're standing on worked ground and you only throw one Threaded Volley out. But
There's a theory I had earlier that she'd be too easy to get pushed on, or wouldn't be able to push the lane so that she could roam.
I've seen one good Talia. That's all I've played against is one. I think I played against a support one once.
Got stomped by one once. That counts.
Yeah, I've been stomped by one actually. I got stomped, but that was like right when
that was like
out.
day of. Yeah, that was the first.
I think we were all in that game.
Oh, it's so good.
That's like me playing top Azir or top Zed. I remember Zed when he first came out. I played him top and was stomping kids with it, and I was a fucking terrible Zed player just because he's a new champion. Free wins. But that's pretty much it for the patch notes. I mean, besides other little dinky changes. I mean, Zed kind of got some changes and stuff.
I think Vel'Koz's is at least noticeable or notable.
I mean, honestly, all changes in this are. We can go over it. Like Zed's is noticeable. If you're a good Zed player, you can use that. Same thing with Vel'Koz. If you're a decent Vel'Koz player, you're getting a buff to the damage you're doing. And Vel'Koz in mid is working out actually really well right now. But
2.6 seconds slow. That's insane.
On what? Or what? On R?
On his Q.
Oh,
his
yes.
Q now is up to 2.6 seconds to possibly slow 3 people.
That was a long time.
That is a long time.
And then it's now making it so that you can, like, I think the bigger change is that his ult stacks his passive and then can make people researched in the middle of his ult to then deal true damage afterwards. That's nuts. I know they drop the damage to compensate because they need to, but you're already getting the damage from the passive proccing on it, which kind of makes up for that damage loss, and then it's true damage the rest of the way. I think that's a great change.
I mean, that wasn't a change, though. It's just a reminder. It's always been that way. Once they're fully researched.
No.
That's
They
not
changed
new in
that.
that patch. It's not new in this patch, the fully researched
Yes,
thing.
it is.
No,
it
as a
wasn't
reminder, enemies that become researched during life form disintegration rate take true damage from the remainder restoration.
Yes.
That was a reminder. It wasn't a change in this patch.
The change was that his R didn't add stacks, and they're reminding him that
Right.
now that the research adds it, because the research portion, it wasn't clear like if you got the stacks if it would become researched because of how they changed how his R worked, but now you can get the research in the middle of the ult as opposed to if you fired an ult and they weren't researched, you weren't going to get it.
Sure. No, I agree that Vel'Koz is really good. I've seen a couple of really good Vel'Koz being played. I definitely think some people should be picking up, but you're still playing with angles, and if you are terrible with angles, you can't play Vel'Koz. Because you can't just shoot it down straight down the middle anymore. You have to play with angles to play them, and once you get the hang of that, obviously, you can make them work for you. There's just like little caveats that when it comes to when it comes to some of these champions that like I want to say like go play Zed, but Zed is a really really hard champion to play properly. So I can't just tell you to jump out there and start playing Zed and getting freelo with it. It's more if you wanted to pick up Zed, now might be a good time to do it.
If you can get to a game where Zed isn't banned.
Exactly.
He's
You
banned.
want to talk about boots at all?
Can't play him.
Oh yeah. Actually, we should because I forgot I
that
made
was
that
notable.
post. Absolutely. Boots of Swiftness are out. Mercury Treads are in.
All right.
Good talk.
I was
Agreed.
gonna say
Go
this
home,
is probably
boys.
Or
your
Ninja
favorite
Tabby.
thing to bring
Or
up.
Ninja Tabby.
Or Ninja Tabby. Actually, it's not so much that Boots of Swiftness are completely out. I do think junglers can and should still pick up Boots of Swiftness if they can't afford Mercury Treads on a back, because that movement speed and slow reduction is still actually really good for the price of the boots. But for an extra 200 gold, you're getting 400 gold worth of magic resist or 450 gold worth of magic resist. And you are also gaining 10 less move speed, but the same or more slow reduction than you would off Boots of Swiftness. Now there is a difference. Boots of Swiftness give you they make slows less effective, but you are slowed for less duration as long as you have the tenacity.
Yeah, the Boots of Swiftness are always going to be better for reapplying slows, like Singed W and other reapplying slows in the game, like pools of slow.
Mm-hmm.
Because the duration just doesn't, the duration reduction doesn't help you at all there. But yeah, I agree. Mercury Treads probably all the way, unless you're a gold star jungler like we always are, and or you have a situation where you don't need the tenacity a whole ton. Like they don't have hard CC, they just have the slows.
I tend to still buy Boots of Swiftness on. Somebody asked me Jhin. I still buy them on Jhin because by the time you go back, it's nice. A lot of times, it's nice to go back and be able to buy those boots really fast. If you're in Jin's like that fringe case where having that Boots of Swiftness and that extra speed is more helpful than when you get stunned, you're dead anyway. Mm-hmm. And the extra attack speed from Berserker Greaves 5% doesn't really give you as much as the extra.
Well, they buffed that. They buffed Berserker Greaves 5% increased, and they buffed Ninja Tabby, which was already pretty good in some situations, but maybe a tiny bit better, 10% to 12. But
Ninja Tabby are going to be hard to buy. That's like a solo queue type of thing.
yeah.
I think it's a very fringe case type of thing.
I mean, I like it if there's only one source of magic damage on the other team, like they have an 80 top laner jungler, and if they don't have a ton of hard CC, or a tank that kind
That's the fringe case, though. It's like very low magic damage, and they don't have CC.
I mean, I look for like the hard CC that shuts down that person I'm playing. So like if I'm a tank laner that can kind of absorb a stun and it's not a big deal to me, or I have like a mitigation to it, like Maokai can dodge a lot of CC, or I don't know.
I suppose there was a place at time where Ninja Tabby were rushed in the top lane, but I think that was more Darius / Renekton.
It's
Renekton.
Mercs are always good. Mercs are always going to be the default, just because there's no other way to get these tenacity in the game.
That easily.
Yeah.
And for that cheaply.
Well, hey, we talked about Cloak and Dagger the other day. We all
but that's
it.
all. Yeah. But now it's just Merc treads, right? So now all the boots might be seen except for mobility boots.
I really, really, really miss boot enchantments, by the way. Like, I didn't think I was going to miss them when they first went, but now there's a lot of times where I'll have extra gold in the late game and I'll need to, and I just like, I need to buy something.
I wish I could spend this on anything. Fuck, I should just sell an item and rebuy.
There's a point now when this game gets about 35 minutes where I feel like I have more gold than items to buy. And I don't.
Look at you with all your gold spent. You're so rich over here. Oh, what do I do with all this money I'm swimming?
The 1%.
I'm the 1% carrying games, motherfucker.
First rift problems.
Yeah, right. Even supports, right? So much gold, just overrunning in it.
Yeah, if you're playing Zyra and killing everyone.
I'm telling you, dude, that's Zyra, man.
It.
But all right, that's it. That's episode number 356 Trinity Force podcast. I think we'll drop it there. Our patch 6.11 discussion, a little more wild, a little more crazy than before. But we kind of figured since you guys played on it, you just kind of wanted our impressions rather than our first impressions of what has changed. So write us, email us, let us know what you guys think. Feedback at trinityforcepodcast.com. We are, if you guys want to know what's coming up, Patreon, you can go sign up for that at patreon.com/TForce Network. A couple more Champions lists coming out. There's always replay reviews where we can help you out. I will say that I have been doing a lot of personal replay reviews where I have any game, like this last weekend, I think I went 6-2 or 5-2. And the 2 losses, I stopped and I went back and looked and I went, I know I did something wrong in this game. I remember talking to myself out loud. I did something wrong. What can I do? And they help a lot. So if you want a replay review and you want to continue to climb, just donate. It's only $25 one time. We'll give you a replay review for that, and it will help you out quite a bit because we'll point out a lot of mistakes. And no matter what level you're at, mistakes happen, and we can help you get through those. So patreon.com/TForce Network. Or actually, we'll also praise you for what you did well. I hate to say that. It's compliment sandwiches. We like to do that. Take a bite out of it.
Yeah, that's our training program, the videos we have to watch and explain how to do these.
Compliment sandwiches.
Yep.
Other than that, we are working toward putting a tournament together for you guys, like a free-to-enter tournament. I don't have exact details on that, but I hope to have that put together in the next few weeks and out to you. But just so you guys know, start prepping, start playing, start practicing. We're going to be throwing another tournament together where you guys can just come and play and have fun and potentially win prizes as a thank you for being such a great community. Other than that, that's it. That's episode number 350, I say 6 of the Trinity Force podcast.
It's 66.
Oh, no, it's 50. Is it 66?
65, I think.
No,
66. Yeah. 65 was the unrecorded one.
No, that was recorded because that was Riot Skarzard.
I know. I mean, we didn't record it.
Oh, yes. Okay. There we go, guys. That's it. That's episode. We will see you all next week.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.